Hello everyone, Don Bickerdike here. Welcome back. We've got another matrix to unpack for you. This particular one is a matrix which has the odds of 1 chance in 1 with 24 zeros after it. That's a big number. This does not happen by chance. By the way, I do not predict anything. These are words found in the news. These are the buzzwords going on. This is just information that I have found. Some words I try to look up and they don't show up. These are the ones that have. There might be extra words in there that I didn't look for, that I just didn't know to look for. They might be in there, but I don't make predictions about anything, and I'm not interpreting this. I'm just showing you what's been found. If you stick around to the end, you'll see some interesting names. Megyn, Kelly, Kolvet, Tucker, Dave, Smith. Some interesting things going on in this matrix. Let me move it up a little bit so you can see all these other words. And yes, I did start out with Kirk and Charlie and the date. Elul in 2025. By using that month, it's like saying September of 2025. So let me show you where all these words are. This is the matrix with all of the letters within all the words that were the closest relationship. Now we actually have 6 words for Kirk in here. This is just the closest one. So you can see where this lines up. This is Kirk and Kirk. There are 6 altogether. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through the ones that are the closest to the middle, to the center words. For example, Charlie is right here. It shares a letter with Kirk. I find that very interesting. I find it interesting that this is completely vertical and that it's attached. That's one of the reasons this one became a predominant matrix for me to use. The reference to Elul, or the equivalent of what we would say in this year as September, or at least what occurred on September 10th, is right here. I looked up turning point for obvious reasons. It's within the text here, turning. And we have the Hebrew letters for turning here. Point. Once again, we show the Hebrew letters that represent point, and actually that would go at an angle. We have another one, point. This is very interesting. Kirk lines up vertically, point. Some of these are more visually appealing than others. Here's another point across the top. It actually angles down and finishes here. Here's another spelling in the Hebrew for the word point. It's down below, a little bit below your screen, but it starts here and goes down. Debate across the top at a nice angle. Charlie was known for doing debates in college. We have college here as well. So we have the Hebrew letters for the word college. Utah is in here several times, 15 times. This is the closest one. This is Utah. Rifleman is in here 6 times. This is the closest representation. rifleman. Premonition. I don't know whether or not Charlie or anyone else had any premonitions. I'm not making any claims. This is just one of the words that I found in the matrix. It's along the bottom, slightly below your screen to see the full matrix, but it's there. Here's another premonition, different spelling in the Hebrew. This is the word vision. I'm not interpreting the words, I'm just showing you where they're at. Here's another word for vision, different spelling. Video. The Hebrew letters go down at an angle and finish here. It starts here, continues, and ends here. Video. Salvation. Starts here, goes down at an angle, begins again over here, and continues to travel down. Salvation. There's another spelling or another word for salvation in the Hebrew. Starts here, continues down to here. Salvation. Gospel. That's a nice representation of that word. Gospel. Sacrifice. One of the things I like about this particular matrix is it is very visually appealing. How the words are placed. We have another spelling for sacrifice right here. Sacrifice. This is the same matrix. Same word in the middle. Sacrifice. And we have the word, unfortunately we do have the word violence. Starts here, goes at an angle, continues all the way down here. Next is the word punishment. Again, I'm not making any interpretations as to why certain words showed up. For all I know, there could be a negative in front of this that I didn't pick out. But anytime you're dealing with issues where people do things wrong against the law or morally, there are always consequences eventually, one way or the other, whether here on earth as punishments or in heaven when people meet their Maker. Political. Begins here, continues down to here. Political. And unfortunately, again, the word murder. Movement. Goes across the middle. Freedom. It's down here. Freedom. Answer. Starts here, goes at an angle, continues over here at the same angle. So it starts and ends. Answer. A different spelling for answer in the Hebrew. Answer. Here's a third spelling coming up. Answer. Those are in very similar positions. parallel to each other, but at an angle. So we have the first one here for answer, and then it changes right next to it. Confession. Starts up here at the top, continues all the way through. Confession. This is the word confession. I tried to find words that were the longer words in the Hebrew. Next we have motive. This is a different spelling for the word motive. Same word in concept, different spelling. Next we have senseless. It just spirals straight through. Starts here, begins again, goes across, and finishes. Senseless. Prosecute. This is the Hebrew word for prosecute. Outcry. Begins here, goes at an angle, continues again and ends. Outcry. Shield. Begins here, goes down at an angle, and continues down at an angle all the way. Shield. Shielded. Different spelling of the same concept. Bleeding. Begins here, goes down and ends. Assassin. Throat. Just goes across the middle. Artery. Fragmentation. Begins at the top, comes down at an angle, continues and finishes here. This is another word for fragmentation, but it's past tense, fragmented. Comes down at an angle. Instantaneous. Death. Kirk. Death. Faith. A 6-letter word in the Hebrew. You probably can't see the full word. Faith. This is another spelling for the same concept, faith. 5-letter word in the Hebrew. Discord. We have 13 occurrences of that. The shortest one, the shortest skip rate, is right here at the bottom. It's probably under the screen that you can see, but it's right there at the bottom. confession. There's a different spelling for the same concept, confession. You see all the Hebrew letters, so it actually goes at this angle, picks up here, and finishes up. Confession. Evidence. Catalyst. Diagonal. Catalyst. War. It's at the top. Speech. It's coming down at an angle, picks up again over here and continues. Speech. Here's another spelling in the Hebrew. Speech. This is revival. I always find it interesting when you have words that are parallel and line up. Revival. Truthful. Unity. Here's another spelling of the word unity. Goes all the way up and down at a slight angle. Prophecy. Prophecy. Civilian. Starts up here, goes down at an angle, continues through the top. Civilian. That's the word I believe they use in the Hebrew for civil war. They can use that also. Evangelize. Evangelize. Christianization. Now I find that interesting. Kirk. Christianization. Kirk. Christianization. Sometimes the positions of the words are interesting. Courageous. We see all the letters and it goes at an angle. Courageous. Starts here, continues, courageous. Courageously. Starts from the top, goes at an angle, continues all the way down. Courageously. Unfortunately, another sad word, bullet. Here's another bullet. Another spelling. The first one occurs 20 times in this matrix. The second one that you're seeing here occurs 11 times. Israeli. making any interpretations here. I'm just showing you what's in the matrix. Starts here, Israeli, finishes at the bottom. Sometimes words are in here just because things are going on in the world, may or may not have any kind of relationship. For example, this word is actually in the text. No spaces in between. Israel. Netanyahu. It's actually in the text. Netanyahu. Control. It just goes straight through these 3 lines, finishes here, starts here, and finishes. Goes through the first line, goes through the second line, finishes here. Control. Here's a different spelling for the word control. Starts here, goes at an angle, and finishes up. Control. Deception. Starts here, goes at an angle, finishes up. So it's going this way and finishes up. Again, these words are just found in here. I'm not making any interpretations. If you make interpretations of this, that's on you. I'm just showing you the words. Cover up. National. It actually starts up here, goes down at an angle, and then continues on down. National. This is a different word, different spelling for the same concept, national, right here. Security. Begins here, goes down at an angle, continues down to the bottom, so it's going at an angle. That's security. A different Hebrew spelling for security. Very similar, it goes at an angle, keeps going at an angle, and finishes up here. So it starts here at this angle, goes through the middle, and ends up here. Security. Neck. Begins here. Very similar. It's going at an angle, goes through the middle. Neck. Erika. Begins here and it's actually going the opposite direction. It picks up again over here, all the way down. So if you took this angle all the way up backwards, it would end up here. Erika. Widow. Widowed. Now this word, the way it's spelled, occurs 79 times in this matrix. The previous widow showed up 9 times. I'm just showing you the closest ones. This word shows up 1 time. It's widowhood. Vow. Begins here, goes at an angle, continues at an angle, and ends here. Vow. Disconcert, like disconcerting. Begins here at an angle, goes down to here. Confusion. And we know that wherever there is confusion, there's every work of the devil. Confusion. Crisscrossing. from the opposite diagonal. Comradeship begins here, goes down at this angle, and continues down to here. Comradeship. Betrayal. It's down near the bottom, but you have the Hebrew letters. Starts here, continues at an angle, and finishes up on the side. Betrayal. Threaten. Again, I'm not interpreting these words, I'm just showing you that they're in the matrix. Threaten. Past tense, threatened. Threatened. These are just the closest words. This particular word is in this matrix 25 times. The previous word for threaten is in this matrix 12 times. Martyr. Goes across the top, begins again here and finishes. So it goes here and here. This word's in here 3 times. The spelling of this word is only in here 1 time. Martyr. Warfare. Goes straight through the line, continues through the next line. In the Hebrew, you read from right to left. Oppression. Across the top. So you have Kirk under the word oppression. Manipulation. Begins at the top, goes down at this angle, continues here, down to the last Hebrew letter. Manipulation. Concealer. Begins here, goes down, finishes here. Concealer. This is concealment. Goes down at an angle, finishes up over here. Concealment. Politician. It's at an angle, diagonal right here. This is another word at the top, Elohim, the word used to represent God, referencing God. That's in there twice. Let's find the other one. Elohim, straight diagonal, right across the middle where Kirk is. Observe. At a steep angle, a steep diagonal over here. Observe. That's in here 7 times. Observer is in here 3 times. Begins here, goes down at an angle. Now these are only the positive directions of the words. I did not do the negative directions, going backwards through the text. This is another spelling for the word observer. There may be several more words in this matrix going backwards. This is camera. You have the Hebrew letters here. It's going at an angle, continues at that same angle, and finishes up at the bottom. So it's going through at an angle like this. camera. That word is in here 3 different times. Let's just show you the other ones. Camera. And camera. Begins here, finishes up here. Camera. This is a shorter way to reference God. It's a shorter spelling. This is the word sealed. Sealed. A different spelling. And another. Sealed. Begins here, goes at this angle, then comes through and finishes up. Sealed. This is yet another spelling. Sealed. The first sealed was in there 18 times, the second one 24 times, the third one 1 time, and this particular one is in here 3 times. Financial. So you see the Hebrew letters, goes through the line, goes through the first line, goes through the second line, and ends on the third line. Financial. Donor at the top. Financial occurred 1 time, donor occurs 4 times for this particular spelling. The next word for donor actually occurs 78 times. This is the shortest one over here. It actually begins here and ends here. That's the shortest skip sequence. The closest one is here. In alignment, the same vertical alignment as Kirk. That's donor. Ideology is in here 11 times. This is the closest one. Megyn. There you are. Kelly. In direct alignment with Kirk. Kirk, Kelly. The position of the words are always very interesting to me. Kolvet. This occurs 1 time, right across the top. Kirk under the word Kolvet. Now the word Megyn was in there 1 time and Kelly was in there 355 times. And we have Tucker. Goes at an angle, comes down and finishes. Starts here, so you're seeing it at this angle, it comes through, and then it finishes here. Dave. Dave or David. That word is in there 33 times. This is the closest one. And Smith. Now isn't that interesting? David, Smith, Kirk. Nail. I remember seeing an interview where Charlie Kirk referenced a hammer and a nail. Well, nail shows up. can't put these words in here. These words were pre-existing before I was even born. Bribe. The first bribe had 2 occurrences. This particular spelling has 3. Let's take a look at the other ones. Yep, that one's across the top here. I'm not making any commentaries on this. It doesn't mean that anything happened or was necessarily offered. I don't know how to interpret these. I'm just showing you the words. Zionist. Character. Right there with a skip of 2 letters. Characters in here 25 times for that particular spelling. The next spelling for character is in here 24 times. Here it is. Character. You have to have a lot of character to do what Charlie Kirk did. Cognitive. That's a word across the bottom here. Starts here, goes through each line, and finishes up. Adamant. If you have strong beliefs, you're probably going to come across as being very adamant. There's another spelling for adamant. And notice that it uses the same letter, adamant, as Kirk. The same Hebrew letter. Integrity touches that letter. Integrity, Kirk. Headstrong, right here. In alignment vertically with Kirk. I didn't know him personally, but leave me a comment if you know any of these traits to be associated with Charlie Kirk. Uncompromising. Starts here, goes at an angle, and finishes up here. So you're seeing it go at an angle and finishing. Uncompromising. Pressured. Pressured is here. Now we get into some other words. Satanic. Anytime you're in the world trying to do some good, you're going to get some opposition. This word is in here 5 times. I'll just go through them real quick. Across the top. That's similar to where oppression was. Again, across the top. We have it going at an angle this way through the bottom. And similar angle going through the bottom. But what does that cause? Revolution. I guess I am doing a little interpretation, aren't I? You can't have resistance happening without an eventual revolution. I'm not encouraging one. I believe a revolution of speaking up is happening. I'm not encouraging any revolutions like a civil war or anything. The start of a revolution kind of thing. The start of this revolution, I believe, is being able to speak up for the truth and stand on the truth and stand firm and not back down. There's another spelling for revolution. Once again, these are all the words, all the letters in the matrix. I I unpacked them one at a time for you. You can go back and study them, pause on them, pause on the word list. You can rebuild this yourself. You can draw your own conclusions, but I do not do that. I avoid doing that. I try not to do that. I have my own opinions, but I'm just looking up the words. There are probably a lot more words in here that I haven't found. I'm just looking up the words, and I consider myself a Bible code reporter. I'm reporting to you the words that are found in the matrix. If they're fascinating to you, if they're interesting to you, if they have a unique, uncanny coincidence as to how they're portrayed, how they interact, how they're parallel, how they intersect, I find it interesting too. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Please give me your feedback. It helps me make more of these. God bless you. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.